Agroforestry. Table of Content. The Living Landscape. Chapter 1. What is agroforestry? Chapter 2. The Importance and Benefits of Agroforestry. Chapter 3. Agroforestry Systems Around the World. Chapter 4. Alley Cropping Systems. Chapter 5. Silvopastoral Systems. Chapter 6. Forest Farming, Multistrata Systems. Chapter 7. Windbreaks, riparian buffers, and contour planting. Chapter 8. Home gardens and urban agroforestry. Chapter 9. Agroforestry and climate change. Chapter 10. Economic and policy aspects of agroforestry. Chapter 11. Research, education, and capacity building in agroforestry. Chapter 12. Monitoring, evaluation, and scaling agroforestry systems. Chapter 13. Future perspectives and innovations in agroforestry. The living landscape. In the quiet moments just before sunrise, a small farm awakens. The dew glistens on banana leaves, sunlight filters through the towering canopy of mango and tamarind trees, and the soft rustle of foliage whispers stories of balance, resilience, and life. Somewhere in the distance, chickens scratch in the shade of a neem tree, while the soil, rich with years of careful cultivation, holds the promise of another bountiful day. This is agroforestry in its purest form, a dance between human ingenuity and nature's rhythm, a practice that sustains not just crops, but communities, ecosystems, and the very air we breathe. Across the globe, landscapes are under siege. Soil erodes into rivers, forests vanish, climates shift unpredictably, and monocultures, once seen as triumphs of modern agriculture, reveal their fragility. Yet in these challenges lie opportunities. Agroforestry offers a vision of hope, where trees, crops, and animals coexist in multi-layered harmony. It is a science, a livelihood strategy, a climate solution, and an art, all at once. This book is a journey into that vision. It explores the science, practice, and promise of agroforestry, weaving together field studies from the highlands of Ethiopia, the coffee plantations of Costa Rica, the home gardens of Kerala, and the rooftops of Havana. It reveals how farmers, researchers, policymakers, and communities are reimagining landscapes that are productive, resilient, and ecologically vibrant. Whether you are a farmer seeking practical guidance, a policymaker crafting sustainable strategies, a researcher exploring the frontiers of agroecology, or simply a curious reader drawn to the intricate relationship between humans and the land, this book is an invitation. An invitation to see the world not as divided into fields, forests, and settlements, but as a living, breathing landscape where life thrives in layers, where every tree planted, every crop intercropped, and every soil conserved is a step toward a resilient future. Step into these pages and witness how agroforestry transforms land, livelihoods, and lives, one tree, one farm, and one community at a time. Chapter 1. What is agroforestry? 1.1 Introduction. A landscape of possibilities. Imagine walking through a landscape where towering trees sway gently above rows of coffee plants, their roots intertwined with vegetables growing in the understory. Birds flit between branches while cows graze lazily beneath the shade. This is not a dream, it's the essence of agroforestry, a land-use system that harmoniously blends agriculture and forestry to create sustainable, resilient, and productive landscapes. Agroforestry is far more than just planting trees on farms. It is a complex, intelligent system that integrates trees, crops, and sometimes livestock in ways that benefit both humans and nature. Unlike conventional monocultures, which often degrade soil and biodiversity, agroforestry fosters resilience, productivity, and ecological balance. 1.2 Defining agroforestry. Agroforestry can be defined as the deliberate integration of woody perennials, trees, shrubs, with crops and/or livestock on the same land, in a way that benefits both ecological and economic systems. Key characteristics include multifunctionality. Trees provide timber, fruit, fodder, fuel, and soil enrichment. Crops yield food, while livestock contributes manure and income. Synergy. Components support each other. Nitrogen-fixing trees enrich soil for crops, shade trees regulate microclimates, and leaf litter improve soil organic matter. Sustainability, designed to reduce soil erosion, conserve water, sequester carbon, and support biodiversity. Agroforestry is not uniform. It adapts to local climates, cultures, and economies. From the tea gardens of India to the silvopastoral systems of Latin America, each practice tells a story of humans learning to work with nature rather than against it. 1.3 Historical evolution of agroforestry. The roots of agroforestry stretch back thousands of years. Ancient civilizations intuitively recognized that combining trees and crops produced more resilient and productive lands. Ancient practices. Amazon basin. Indigenous peoples developed multi-strata forest gardens, planting manioc, maize, cacao, and fruit trees beneath native forest canopies. China. The mulberry silk agroforestry system integrated mulberry trees with silk-producing silkworms and intercropped vegetables, sustaining communities for centuries. Africa. Faidherbia albida, an iconic acacia species, was traditionally used in Sahelian agriculture. It sheds leaves during the rainy season, enriching soils without competing with crops. Modern developments. In the 20th century, agroforestry emerged as a scientific discipline, bridging ecology, agronomy, and forestry. Researchers identified systems and principles that could improve productivity, mitigate climate change, and enhance livelihoods. Today, agroforestry is recognized globally as a cornerstone of sustainable agriculture. 1.4 The importance and benefits of agroforestry. Agroforestry is often described as a win-win system because it delivers environmental, economic, and social benefits. Environmental benefits. Soil fertility. Trees fix nitrogen and recycle nutrients from deeper soil layers, enriching topsoil for crops. Water conservation. Canopies reduce evaporation, and root systems improve water infiltration. Biodiversity. Diverse plant species create habitats for birds, insects, and microorganisms, enhancing ecosystem resilience. Case study. In Kenya, smallholder farmers practicing alley cropping with leguminous trees like Gliricidia sepium reported a 25% increase in maize yield while improving soil nitrogen levels, demonstrating the ecological and productive benefits of tree-crop synergy. Economic benefits. Diversified income. Farmers gain revenue from timber, fruits, nuts, and fodder, reducing dependence on a single crop. Risk reduction. Agroforestry buffers against crop failure caused by pests, droughts, or market fluctuations. Case study. In Vietnam's Central Highlands, coffee farmers interplant shade trees such as Erythrina and Albizia, producing high-quality beans while selling timber and fodder, resulting in a 30 to 40% increase in total farm income. Social benefits. Food security. Multiple crops and trees provide year-round nutrition. Community resilience. Agroforestry supports communal knowledge transfer and sustainable livelihoods. Cultural value. Certain trees have spiritual and traditional significance, linking conservation with cultural identity. 1.5 Agroforestry systems around the world. Agroforestry manifests differently, depending on geography, climate, and culture. Here are some notable systems. Asia, tea plantations with intercropped fruit trees, rice paddies bordered by nitrogen-fixing trees. Africa, Faidherbia-dominated cereal systems in drylands, intercropped fruit trees for cash and nutrition. Latin America, coffee and cacao shade systems, silvopastoral systems combining cattle and timber trees. Europe, orchard systems, wood pastures, and windbreak integrated crop fields. Case study. The coffee forests of Costa Rica showcase shade-grown coffee cultivated under a canopy of native trees. This system preserves biodiversity, supports pollinators, and produces specialty coffee with premium market value. 1.6 Key principles of agroforestry. Agroforestry is guided by principles that ensure sustainability and productivity. Diversity. Combining multiple species reduces risk and enhances ecosystem services. Complementarity. Components support each other rather than compete. Integration. Trees, crops, and livestock are not separate, they are interdependent. Sustainability. Practices maintain soil, water, and biodiversity for future generations. 1.7 Challenges in agroforestry. While promising, agroforestry is not without challenges. Land tenure issues. Farmers may lack long-term rights to plant trees. Market access. Products like timber or fruits may face price fluctuations. Knowledge gaps. Technical expertise is required for species selection and management. Policy constraints. Agricultural policies often favor monocultures. Despite these obstacles, the global push for climate-smart agriculture and sustainable land management makes agroforestry an essential strategy for the 21st century. 1.8 Conclusion. The promise of agroforestry. Agroforestry represents a philosophy as much as a practice, a way of seeing agriculture through the lens of ecosystems, not just economics. It reminds us that trees and crops, wildlife and humans, can coexist in mutually beneficial ways. As we explore the systems, techniques, and case studies in the coming chapters, one principle remains clear. Integrating trees into agriculture is no longer optional. It is essential for resilient, sustainable futures. If you want, I can expand this chapter 1 into a full 20 to 25 pages, with more detailed global case studies, e.g. India, Brazil, Ethiopia. Illustrations of tree-crop interactions. Tables comparing agroforestry systems. Farmer interviews and success stories. Chapter 2. The importance and benefits of agroforestry. 2.1 Introduction. Beyond the tree. In many parts of the world, farmers have historically viewed trees as obstacles to agriculture. Yet agroforestry challenges this perception. It shows that trees can be partners, not competitors, in farming systems. When designed carefully, agroforestry systems deliver multiple benefits simultaneously. They increase farm productivity, conserve ecosystems, and enhance livelihoods. This chapter explores why agroforestry is increasingly recognized as a critical solution to global challenges such as food insecurity, climate change, land degradation, and biodiversity loss. 2.2 Ecological benefits. Soil fertility and health. Healthy soils are the backbone of sustainable agriculture. Agroforestry systems enrich soils in several ways. Nitrogen fixation. Leguminous trees like Gliricidia sepium, Faidherbia albida, and acacia convert atmospheric nitrogen into forms plants can use. Organic matter. Leaf litter and prune branches decompose, replenishing nutrients. Erosion control. Tree roots stabilize soil and reduce runoff, particularly on slopes and riverbanks. Case study. In Ethiopia, farmers practicing alley cropping with Faidherbia albida observed a 30% increase in maize yield compared to monoculture fields, largely due to improved soil fertility and moisture retention. Water conservation. Trees in agroforestry systems improve water use efficiency. Canopies reduce evaporation by shading crops and soil. Deep roots enhance infiltration, allowing water to reach lower soil layers. Riparian buffer strips filter runoff and protect waterways. Case study. In India's semi-arid regions, farmers intercropped Prosopis cineraria with millet and sorghum. The trees reduce soil water evaporation, allowing crops to survive longer dry spells and increasing yields by 20%. Biodiversity enhancement. Agroforestry creates multi-layered habitats. Trees provide nesting and food resources for birds, bats, and beneficial insects. Diverse understory crops attract pollinators and natural pest predators. Mixed landscapes prevent monoculture-associated pest outbreaks. Case study. Costa Rica's shade-grown coffee systems maintain higher biodiversity than full-sun plantations, with over 150 bird species recorded in coffee farms shaded by native trees. Climate change mitigation. Trees sequester carbon both above and below ground. Agroforestry systems can store up to 50% more carbon than conventional monocultures. Shade trees reduce the need for synthetic fertilizers, cutting greenhouse gas emissions. Case study. Research in West Africa shows that cocoa farms with shade trees sequester significantly more carbon than unshaded farms, while improving crop resilience to rising temperatures. 2.3 Economic benefits. Diversified income streams. Agroforestry allows farmers to produce multiple marketable products simultaneously. Fruits, nuts, timber, fuelwood, fodder, medicinal plants. Annual crops like maize, coffee, cacao, and vegetables. Case study. In Vietnam, coffee farmers interplant trees such as Erythrina and Albizia. While coffee remains the primary product, timber, fodder, and fruits contribute an additional 35 to 40% to household income. Risk reduction. Diversification reduces vulnerability to climate, market, and pest risks. If one crop fails, others provide income. Timber and perennial products buffer against seasonal price fluctuations. Case study. In Nicaragua, smallholders practicing silvopastoral systems reported fewer financial losses during drought years because livestock, timber, and fodder trees provided continuous income and feed. Long-term investment. Trees take time to mature but provide long-term returns. Timber, fruit, and nuts can be harvested over decades. Agroforestry is a living investment in farm resilience and wealth accumulation. Case study. In Kenya, farmers planting Grevillea robusta in coffee farms see incremental income from pruning for firewood, while full harvest occurs after 20 to 25 years, creating both short and long-term financial stability. 2.4 Social benefits. Food security. Agroforestry improves year-round access to food. Fruit trees provide vitamins and nutrients. Understory crops ensure staple food production. Livestock integration supplies protein through milk and meat. Case study. In Bangladesh, homestead agroforestry, mixing fruit trees, vegetables, and small livestock around homes, increased household food availability, particularly during lean seasons. Community resilience and knowledge sharing. Agroforestry fosters community cooperation. Farmers exchange knowledge about species, planting, and management. Shared tree nurseries, cooperative marketing, and community forests strengthen social ties. Case study. In Nepal, community-managed agroforestry projects involve villagers in planting, pruning, and seedling distribution, empowering women and youth while improving forest cover. Cultural and spiritual values. Trees have symbolic, spiritual, and traditional significance in many cultures. Sacred groves protect biodiversity. Trees mark community boundaries, ritual sites, and seasonal calendars. Agroforestry systems preserve these cultural practices while maintaining productivity. Case study. In southern India, farmers maintain sacred neem and tamarind trees within agricultural lands, balancing cultural reverence with economic use of tree products. 2.5 Global recognition of agroforestry. Agroforestry is increasingly acknowledged in global sustainability frameworks. UN Food and Agriculture Organization, FAO, agroforestry is key to climate-smart agriculture. UN Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, supports goals 2 Zero Hunger, 13 Climate Action, and 15 Life on Land. National policies. Countries like India, Kenya, and Brazil incentivize tree crop integration for environmental and economic resilience. 2.6 Conclusion. A strategy for people and planet. Agroforestry is not merely a farming technique, it is a holistic strategy for creating resilient, productive, and sustainable landscapes. Its benefits are multifaceted. Ecological. Enriched soils, conserved water, biodiversity protection, carbon sequestration. Economic. Diversified income, risk reduction, long-term investment. Social. Food security, community cohesion, cultural preservation. As global pressures on land and resources increase, agroforestry offers a path forward, one that allows humans and nature to thrive together. Chapter 3. Agroforestry systems around the world. 3.1 Introduction. Diversity in practice. Agroforestry is not a one-size-fits-all approach. Its design, species selection, and management vary depending on climate, soil, culture, and market conditions. Across continents, farmers and communities have adapted agroforestry principles to meet local needs, whether for food security, income generation, soil conservation, or climate resilience. This chapter explores the main agroforestry systems worldwide, highlighting their unique characteristics, advantages, and success stories. 3.2 Alley Cropping Systems. Alley cropping involves planting rows of trees or shrubs, hedgerows, with annual crops grown in between. The trees provide organic matter, nitrogen fixation, wind protection, and sometimes timber or fodder, while crops take advantage of enriched soil and microclimate benefits. Design and layout. Trees are planted in parallel rows, with spacing sufficient to allow crop growth in the alleys. Common species: Gliricidia sepium, Leucaena leucocephala, Faidherbia albida. Crops: maize, sorghum, beans, vegetables, coffee in shaded systems. Global examples. Kenya. Smallholder maize farms integrate Faidherbia albida hedgerows, enhancing soil fertility and yields by 25 to 30%. Brazil. In Minas Gerais, farmers use Leucaena hedgerows with maize and beans, improving soil organic matter and providing fodder for livestock. India. Alley cropping in semi-arid regions with Gliricidia improves millet productivity and reduces soil erosion. Benefits and challenges. Benefits: soil fertility enhancement, erosion control, fodder and firewood production, increase crop yields. Challenges: requires careful pruning and management to avoid shading crops excessively, labor-intensive initially. 3.3 Silvopastoral Systems. Silvopastoral systems integrate trees, forage, and livestock on the same land. Trees provide shade, fodder, and timber, while pastures feed livestock. These systems are particularly effective in tropical and subtropical regions. System design. Trees planted in scattered patterns or rows. Shade-tolerant grasses and legumes form the pasture. Livestock, cattle, goats, sheep, graze while benefiting from tree cover. Case studies. Costa Rica. Dairy farms integrate Inga trees with pasture grasses. Milk yields improve due to shade reducing heat stress, and trees provide fodder and firewood. Brazil. The Cerrado region uses silvopastoral systems with eucalyptus and acacia, combining cattle grazing with timber production. West Africa. Farmers plant Faidherbia albida in grazing lands. The trees fix nitrogen and provide dry season fodder for livestock. Benefits and challenges. Benefits: increased livestock productivity, soil fertility, timber production, and climate resilience. Challenges: risk of overgrazing, requires species selection suited to local soils and climate. 3.4 Forest farming, multi-strata systems. Forest farming involves growing high-value crops under a managed forest canopy. These systems mimic natural forest layers, supporting diverse crops and ecological services. System design. Upper canopy, timber or fruit trees, e.g. teak, mango, nut trees. Mid canopy, shade-tolerant crops like coffee, cacao, or medicinal plants. Understory, vegetables, herbs, mushrooms. Global examples. Amazon basin, Brazil. Indigenous communities cultivate manioc, cacao, and tropical fruits under multi-strata forests, sustaining food security and income. India. Cardamom and pepper grow under native forest canopies in Kerala, providing shade, moisture retention, and high-value cash crops. United States, Appalachia. Forest farming of ginseng, mushrooms, and ornamentals under hardwood trees supports diversified income for smallholders. Benefits and challenges. Benefits: biodiversity conservation, high-value crop production, microclimate regulation, soil enrichment. Challenges: requires long-term planning, labor-intensive, risk of pests in dense canopies. 3.5 Windbreaks, riparian buffers, and contour planting. These systems are designed primarily for soil and water conservation, but they also support production and biodiversity. Windbreaks. Rows of trees planted perpendicular to prevailing winds reduce wind speed and soil erosion. Example: Casuarina, eucalyptus, and native species in Indian wheat fields reduce wind damage and conserve moisture. Riparian buffers. Vegetated strips along rivers and streams filter runoff, prevent erosion, and improve water quality. Example: in the Midwestern United States, riparian buffers with willows and poplars prevent nitrate runoff into rivers while providing timber and wildlife habitat. Contour planting, terracing with trees. Trees planted along contour lines prevent soil erosion on slopes and retain water. Example: coffee farms in Ethiopia use contour planting with shade trees, protecting fragile soils in mountainous regions. 3.6 Home gardens and urban agroforestry. Not all agroforestry occurs on large farms. Home gardens and urban agroforestry integrate trees, vegetables, and small livestock around households or in city landscapes. Home gardens. Found in South and Southeast Asia, Africa, and Latin America. Combine fruits, vegetables, medicinal plants, and small livestock. Provide food security, medicinal resources, and income. Case study: in Kerala, India, home gardens with coconut, banana, turmeric, and medicinal plants supply households with 70 to 80% of their daily food needs. Urban agroforestry. Trees and gardens in urban areas reduce heat, improve air quality, and provide local food. Example: Havana, Cuba. Urban agroforestry integrates fruit trees and vegetable gardens into city blocks, enhancing nutrition and urban green spaces. 3.7 Lessons from global practices. Agroforestry is adaptable but requires careful planning and local knowledge. Species selection. Trees must complement crops and livestock. Climate and soil suitability. Systems must fit local ecological conditions. Management. Pruning, spacing, and soil fertility management are critical. Market access. High-value products like coffee, cacao, timber, or fruits improve adoption. Common theme. Across continents, successful agroforestry systems are those that integrate ecological understanding with local cultural and economic needs. 3.8 Conclusion. A world of possibilities. From the tea gardens of India to silvopastoral systems in Latin America, agroforestry offers a diverse toolbox for sustainable land management. It demonstrates that trees, crops, and livestock can coexist in mutually beneficial ways, improving productivity, conserving ecosystems, and supporting communities. As the global population rises and climate pressures intensify, these systems provide replicable models for resilient, sustainable agriculture, proving that agroforestry is not just a practice, but a global solution. Chapter 4. Alley Cropping Systems. 4.1 Introduction. Cultivating Productivity in Rows. Alley cropping is one of the most widely practiced and researched agroforestry systems. Its central principle is simple yet powerful: planting rows of trees or shrubs, hedgerows, with crops grown in the alleys between them. This integration provides ecological, economic, and social benefits, while allowing farmers to maximize land use. Imagine a maize field in Kenya, with neatly spaced rows of Faidherbia albida shedding nitrogen-rich leaves into the alleys below, boosting soil fertility while providing shade. This is alley cropping in action, a system where trees are allies, not competitors. 4.2 Principles of alley cropping. To succeed, alley cropping relies on several key principles. Complementarity. Trees and crops must support each other. For example, nitrogen-fixing trees improve soil fertility, while crops provide income and food. Spatial arrangement. Trees are planted in rows, hedgerows, with wide enough spacing to prevent excessive shading of crops. Temporal integration. Some systems involve rotating trees and crops or pruning trees to allow seasonal crop growth. Biodiversity. Mixing species reduces pest outbreaks and enhances resilience. 4.3 Design and layout. Hedgerow placement. Trees are planted in parallel rows at regular intervals, usually 2 to 10 meters apart, depending on species and crop height. Hedgerows are often oriented north-south to minimize shading of crops. Alley width. Alley width depends on crop type, light requirements, and tree canopy size. Example: maize may require 3 to 5 meters between tree rows, while shade-tolerant crops like beans may allow narrower alleys. Tree selection. Nitrogen-fixing species: Faidherbia albida, Gliricidia sepium, Lucina leucocephala. Fodder or timber species: Acacia prosopis erythrina. Fruit-bearing species: Moringa, jackfruit, guava. Key consideration: trees must be compatible with the crop's growth cycle and not overly compete for light, water, or nutrients. 4.4 Crop selection. Alley cropping supports a wide variety of crops. Cereals: maize, sorghum, millet, wheat. Legumes: beans, groundnuts, cowpeas. Vegetables: tomatoes, leafy greens. Cash crops: coffee, cacao, spices. Case study: in Nigeria, maize intercropped with Lucina hedgerows showed a 20 to 25% increase in maize yield due to improved soil fertility and moisture retention. 4.5 Management techniques. Pruning. Regular pruning prevents excessive shading and provides green manure or fodder. Pruned material can be incorporated into soil, enriching it with nutrients. Fertility management. Trees contribute nitrogen and organic matter. Additional compost or manure may be added to balance crop nutrient needs. Pest and disease control. Hedgerows provide habitat for beneficial insects. Intercropping and species diversity reduce the likelihood of pest outbreaks. Water management. Alley cropping reduces runoff and improves water infiltration. Mulching with pruned leaves helps retain soil moisture. 4.6 Case studies. Kenya, Faidherbia maize system. Location: semi-arid regions. Tree: Faidherbia albida. Crops: maize and beans. Results: yields increased 25 to 30%. Trees shed leaves during the rainy season, naturally fertilizing the crops. Additional benefits: fodder for livestock, firewood, carbon sequestration. Brazil, Lucina-based alley cropping. Location: Minas Gerais. Tree: Lucina leucocephala. Crops: maize and beans. Management: pruning every 3 to 4 months. Incorporation of pruned biomass as green manure. Outcome: improved soil fertility and crop yields, additional fodder production for livestock. India, Gliricidia alley cropping in semi-arid zones. Location: Andhra Pradesh and Karnataka. Tree: Gliricidia sepium. Crops: pearl millet, sorghum. Benefits: reduced soil erosion, improved moisture retention, sustainable fodder for goats and cattle. 4.7 Advantages of alley cropping. Enhanced soil fertility. Nitrogen-fixing trees enrich the soil. Erosion control. Hedgerows prevent topsoil loss on slopes. Diversified income. Crops, fodder, timber, and firewood provide multiple revenue streams. Climate resilience. Shaded crops are protected from heat stress and soils retain moisture. Biodiversity. Supports birds, insects, and soil organisms. 4.8 Challenges of alley cropping. Labor-intensive. Requires planting, pruning, and maintenance of hedgerows. Initial costs. Tree seedlings and labor investment can be high. Competition. Poorly managed trees may compete with crops for light and nutrients. Knowledge requirements. Farmers need training on pruning, spacing, and species selection. Mitigation. Community training, farmer field schools, and government support programs have proven effective in overcoming these barriers. 4.9 Innovations and research. Intercropping with high-value crops, coffee, cacao, and spices in alley systems. Agroforestry mechanization, pruning tools, machinery for hedgerow management. Remote sensing and GIS, mapping tree-crop interactions and optimizing layouts. Climate-smart designs, drought-resistant tree species to improve resilience. Case study. Research in Uganda demonstrated that combining alley cropping with drought-tolerant maize varieties increased yields during dry spells while maintaining soil fertility. 4.10 Conclusion. Rows of opportunity. Alley cropping demonstrates that trees and crops can coexist synergistically. With careful species selection, spatial design, and management, it provides ecological, economic, and social benefits while building resilience to climate variability. From the semi-arid plains of Kenya to the fertile valleys of Brazil, alley cropping continues to prove itself as a cornerstone of sustainable agroforestry systems. It is a living example of how intelligent land use can harmonize production and conservation, offering hope for farmers and ecosystems alike. Chapter 5: Silvopastoral Systems. 5.1 Introduction: Trees, Grass, and Livestock in Harmony. Imagine a rolling pasture in Latin America, where cattle graze under the shade of native trees, while birds flit between branches and soil fertility improves naturally. This is the essence of silvopastoral systems, a branch of agroforestry that integrates trees, forage, and livestock on the same land. Silvopastoral systems are more than just shade trees in a pasture. They are carefully designed ecosystems that balance production, biodiversity, and ecological health, making livestock farming more sustainable, resilient, and profitable. 5.2 Principles of Silvopastoral Systems. Successful silvopastoral systems rely on several core principles. Integration: trees, forage, and livestock are interdependent. Trees provide shade and fodder, grasses feed livestock, manure enriches soils. Complementarity: tree species are chosen to support, not compete with pasture or animals. Diversity: combining multiple tree and forage species reduces disease risk and improves ecosystem resilience. Sustainability: the system maintains soil fertility, water balance, and biodiversity while producing food and income. 5.3 Design and Layout. Tree placement. Trees can be scattered in rows or in clusters depending on topography, pasture density, and livestock type. Typical density: 30 to 100 trees per hectare for optimal shade and fodder. Orientation: rows may be planted along contours or paddock boundaries to minimize erosion and maximize shade. Forage selection. Grasses: Brachiaria spp, Panicum spp, ryegrass, Napier grass. Legumes: Stylosanthe spp, Desmodium spp, Lucina spp. Fodder shrubs: Gliricidia, Calliandra, Acacia species. Livestock integration. Cattle, sheep, goats, and sometimes poultry can be integrated depending on forage availability. Rotational grazing is recommended to prevent overgrazing and soil degradation. 5.4 Species selection. Trees. Fodder trees: Lucina leucocephala, Gliricidia sepium, Calliandra calathursis. Timber trees: Eucalyptus, Grevillea, Acacia. Native trees: Faidherbia albida, Africa, Inga spp. Central America: Albizia spp. Grasses and legumes. High-protein grasses: Brachiaria brisantha, Panicum maximum. Nitrogen-fixing legumes: Stylosanthe spp, Desmodium spp. Key consideration: trees must provide fodder or shade without reducing pasture productivity, while legumes improve protein content in livestock diets. 5.5 Management practices. Pruning and lopping. Trees are regularly pruned to provide fodder and maintain pasture light levels. Pruned biomass may also be used for mulching or firewood. Grazing management. Rotational grazing ensures forage regrowth and prevents soil compaction. Combining tree shade and pasture rotation improves livestock comfort and productivity. Fertility and soil management. Manure from livestock naturally enriches soil. Leaf litter and pruned branches from trees improve soil organic matter. Occasional fertilization may be applied to balance nutrients. Pest and disease control. Biodiverse systems reduce pest outbreaks. Trees provide habitat for birds and insects that act as natural pest predators. 5.6 Case studies. Costa Rica, dairy silvopastoral systems. Trees: Inga spp, Erythrina popigiana. Livestock: dairy cattle. Outcome: shaded pastures reduce heat stress, improving milk yield by 20 to 30%. Trees provide fodder and timber, increasing income diversification. Brazil, Cerrado silvopastoral systems. Trees: Acacia eucalyptus. Livestock: cattle. Management: rotational grazing, regular pruning of trees. Results: increased animal weight gain, soil conservation, and timber production, with higher resilience to seasonal droughts. West Africa: Faidherbia-based grazing lands. Trees: Faidherbia albida. Livestock: goats, cattle. Benefits: nitrogen-rich leaf fall improves soil fertility, dry season fodder reduces livestock mortality, and crop yields under trees increase due to improved soil health. 5.7 Economic benefits. Increased livestock productivity. Shade reduces heat stress, fodder trees supplement feed. Diversified income, timber, fodder, fruits, and milk meat sales. Risk mitigation. Trees and diversified forage reduce vulnerability to drought, pests, and market fluctuations. Example: in Nicaragua, farmers integrating Gliricidia trees with pasture reported 25 to 30% higher cattle weight gain compared to open pastures, while harvesting firewood from pruned branches provided additional income. 5.8 Environmental benefits. Soil fertility. Nitrogen-fixing trees enhance pasture productivity. Carbon sequestration. Trees store carbon and biomass in soil. Biodiversity. Provides habitat for birds, insects, and beneficial soil organisms. Water conservation. Tree cover reduces evaporation, improves water infiltration, and protects streams. 5.9 Social and livelihood benefits. Provides fodder for household livestock, increasing food security. Reduces labor by providing locally available feed and firewood. Supports community resilience through knowledge sharing and cooperative management. Example: in Colombia, silvopastoral systems have improved rural livelihoods by increasing milk production, reducing deforestation pressure, and fostering community-led tree planting programs. 5.10 Challenges. Initial investment. Establishing trees and managing rotational grazing requires capital. Knowledge-intensive. Requires understanding of species compatibility, pruning schedules, and grazing management. Pests and diseases. Tree-livestock interactions may increase certain risks if poorly managed. Labor requirements. Regular pruning, grazing management, and monitoring are needed. Mitigation. Extension services, farmer field schools, and cooperative programs have successfully supported adoption and management. 5.11 Innovations and research. High-protein fodder trees. Breeding trees with improved digestibility and protein content. Integrated feed planning. Matching tree fodder with pasture cycles for year-round livestock nutrition. Remote sensing and monitoring. Tracking pasture growth, tree health, and livestock movement using drones and GIS. Climate-resilient designs. Selecting drought-tolerant trees to maintain fodder availability during dry seasons. Case study. In Ecuador, combining rotational grazing with Caliandra and Leucaena trees increased milk production by 35% during the dry season while improving soil fertility. 5.12 Conclusion. A synergistic landscape. Silvopastoral systems demonstrate that livestock and trees can coexist productively and sustainably. By integrating shade, fodder, pasture, and animals, these systems enhance animal welfare and productivity, improve soil fertility and biodiversity, diversify farmer income and reduce risk, build resilience to climate variability. Across tropical and subtropical regions, silvopastoral systems provide a model for sustainable livestock production, showing that thoughtful integration of trees and animals benefits both people and the planet. Chapter 6: Forest Farming, Multistrata Systems. 6.1 Introduction. Agriculture beneath the canopy. Picture a lush tropical forest where cacao trees grow under the shade of taller timber trees, interspersed with fruit trees, medicinal plants, and shade-tolerant vegetables. This is the essence of forest farming, also called multistrata agroforestry, a system that mimics the structure of a natural forest while producing high-value crops. Unlike conventional monocultures, forest farming leverages vertical space, creating multiple layers of production while preserving biodiversity, enriching soils, and providing ecosystem services. 6.2 Principles of forest farming. Successful forest farming relies on designing layered systems where each component supports the others. Key principles include vertical stratification, upper canopy, timber or fruit trees, mid-canopy, shade-tolerant crops such as coffee or cacao, understory, vegetables, herbs, mushrooms, medicinal plants, species complementarity. Deep-rooted trees access nutrients and water, inaccessible to shallow-rooted understory crops. Shade-tolerant crops thrive under filtered light, while benefiting from nutrient cycling. Sustainability maintains soil fertility, conserves water, and reduces erosion. Promotes biodiversity by creating diverse habitats. Economic diversification produces timber, fruits, nuts, spices, and medicinal products simultaneously. 6.3 System design and layout. Canopy structure. Upper canopy, 15 to 30 meters tall. Species include teak, mahogany, coconut, or fruit trees like mango and durian. Mid-canopy, 5 to 15 meters. Shade-tolerant crops such as cacao, coffee, pepper, vanilla. Understory, 0 to 5 meters. Leafy greens, herbs, mushrooms, medicinal plants like ginseng or turmeric. Spatial arrangement. Trees are planted in clusters or rows, depending on species requirements. Crop spacing must ensure adequate light for mid- and understory crops. Natural microtopography is leveraged for water retention and nutrient distribution. 6.4 Crop and tree selection. Upper canopy trees. Timber, teak, mahogany, eucalyptus. Fruit, mango, durian, jackfruit, avocado. Mid-canopy crops. Coffee, Coffea arabica, C. canephora. Cacao, Theobroma cacao. Spices, black pepper, vanilla. Understory crops. Leafy vegetables, spinach, amaranth. Medicinal plants, ginseng, turmeric, cardamom. Mushrooms, shiitake, oyster mushrooms. Key consideration: crop selection must account for light tolerance, root depth, and nutrient needs to ensure complementarity. 6.5 Management practices. Pruning and thinning. Upper canopy trees are pruned to optimize light penetration. Periodic thinning prevents overcrowding, improves air circulation, and reduces disease risk. Soil fertility management. Leaf litter and organic mulch enrich soil naturally. Compost and green manure may be added to maintain nutrient levels. Nitrogen-fixing trees, e.g., Inga spp, can be incorporated to enhance soil fertility. Water management. Mulching reduces evaporation, and terracing or swales manage runoff on sloped lands. Shade reduces soil moisture loss, helping crops survive dry periods. Pest and disease control. Diverse species reduce monoculture-related pest outbreaks. Beneficial insects are attracted by flowering trees and shrubs. Organic pest management is feasible due to minimal chemical interference. 6.6 Case studies. Amazon basin, Brazil, indigenous multi-strata gardens. Upper canopy, native timber species. Mid-canopy, manioc, cacao fruit trees. Understory, vegetables, herbs. Outcome: sustained food security and income for communities, while preserving native forest biodiversity. Kerala, India, shade-grown cardamom and pepper. Upper canopy, mango, jackfruit, native trees. Mid-canopy, cardamom and pepper. Understory, turmeric, leafy greens. Benefits: higher crop yields, improved soil fertility, and year-round production of high-value spices. United States, Appalachia, ginseng and medicinal plants. Upper canopy, hardwood trees. Mid-canopy, shade-tolerant ornamentals and ginseng. Understory, mushrooms. Outcome: smallholders earn supplemental income while maintaining forest cover and ecosystem health. 6.7 Economic benefits. High-value crops, coffee, cacao, spices, medicinal plants, and timber provide premium market opportunities. Diversified income. Risk is spread across multiple products. Sustainable investment. Trees provide long-term returns, while understory crops generate short-term revenue. Example, in Kerala, India, a mixed forest farm system produces cardamom, pepper, and turmeric, generating 2 to 3 times higher net income per hectare compared to monoculture spice plantations. 6.8 Environmental benefits. Biodiversity conservation. Multi-layered habitats support birds, insects, and small mammals. Soil conservation. Leaf litter and roots stabilize soils. Carbon sequestration. Trees store carbon and biomass in soil. Water regulation. Shade reduces evaporation. Terracing and mulching improve water retention. Example, shade-grown cacao farms in Costa Rica sequester up to 30% more carbon than full-sun monoculture plantations. 6.9 Social and cultural benefits. Provides food security and year-round nutrition for families. Supports traditional knowledge and cultural practices of forest communities. Encourages community participation in managing shared forests and resources. Case study. Indigenous communities in the Amazon maintain multi-strata gardens that blend traditional forest management with market-oriented crops, sustaining both culture and livelihoods. 6.10 Challenges. High knowledge requirement. Designing a multi-strata system requires understanding light, water, and nutrient interactions. Labor-intensive. Pruning, harvesting, and soil management require ongoing effort. Market access. High-value products must have accessible markets. Initial costs. Establishment of timber trees and perennial crops requires long-term investment. Mitigation. Extension services, cooperative marketing, and value chain development help farmers overcome these barriers. 6.11 Innovations and research. Agroforestry modeling tools, software and GIS mapping help design optimal multi-strata systems. Climate-resilient crops, breeding shade-tolerant, drought-resistant varieties for mid- and understory crops. High-value non-timber products, mushrooms, medicinal plants, and honey complement timber and food crops. Market development, linking farmers to specialty coffee, cacao, and spice markets improves adoption. Example, in Costa Rica, shade-grown cacao under native trees is sold as biodiversity-certified chocolate, fetching premium prices and incentivizing forest preservation. 6.12 Conclusion. Agriculture imitating nature. Forest farming, multi-strata systems demonstrate that agriculture can harmonize with natural forests. By stacking crops vertically, integrating trees, and leveraging biodiversity, these systems enhance income and nutrition, preserve biodiversity and ecosystem services, build climate resilience, support cultural and traditional practices. In essence, multi-strata agroforestry shows that productive landscapes do not have to come at the expense of nature. They can be a synergy of ecology, economy, and culture. Chapter 7. Windbreaks, riparian buffers, and contour planting. 7.1 Introduction. Protecting land and water. In many agricultural landscapes, wind, water, and soil erosion are major threats to productivity and sustainability. Agroforestry systems, such as windbreaks, riparian buffers, and contour planting, offer innovative solutions. These systems combine ecological restoration with economic production, protecting soil and water while providing timber, fruits, and fodder. Imagine a wheat field in the plains of India, bordered by rows of casuarina trees that shelter crops from scorching winds. Or a riverbank in the U.S. Midwest, where willows and poplars filter agricultural runoff and provide wildlife habitat. These are living examples of agroforestry as landscape armor. 7.2 Windbreaks. Purpose and benefits. Windbreaks are rows of trees or shrubs planted to reduce wind speed across fields. Their benefits include: reduce soil erosion, protects topsoil from wind damage. Microclimate regulation, reduces evapotranspiration, stabilizes soil temperature, and shelters crops. Crop yield increase, protects delicate crops like wheat, maize, and vegetables. Biodiversity support, provides habitat for birds and beneficial insects. Design principles. Orientation, rows should be perpendicular to prevailing winds. Height and density, Trees should be dense enough to reduce wind, but spaced to allow light and air circulation. Species selection. Fast-growing, sturdy species with deep roots are ideal. Examples: Casuarina equisetifolia, eucalyptus, populus, acacia. Case study: India's wheat fields. Location: Punjab and Haryana. Species: Casuarina and eucalyptus. Impact: windbreaks reduce soil erosion and crop lodging, increasing wheat yields by 10 to 15%. Additional benefits: timber and firewood production provided supplementary income. 7.3 Riparian buffers. Purpose and benefits. Riparian buffers are vegetated strips along rivers, streams, or wetlands. They protect water quality, prevent erosion, and enhance ecosystem health. Water filtration. Roots and vegetation trap sediments, nutrients, and pesticides before they reach waterways. Erosion control. Stabilizes riverbanks and prevents soil loss. Habitat creation. Supports fish, birds, and beneficial insects. Flood mitigation. Reduces velocity of surface runoff during heavy rains. Design principles. Width. Typically 10 to 30 meters depending on slope, soil, and flood risk. Species selection. Native trees and shrubs adapted to wet soils are preferred. Examples: willows, Salix spp, poplars, Populus spp, alders, dogwoods. Layering. Incorporate herbaceous plants, shrubs, and trees for maximum filtration and habitat. Case study: Midwestern United States. Location: Iowa and Minnesota. Species: willows, poplars, native grasses, and shrubs. Impact: riparian buffers reduce nitrate runoff into rivers by 40 to 60%, stabilize banks, and enhanced wildlife corridors. Additional benefits: timber, biomass, and occasional fruit nut production provided income for farmers. 7.4 Contour planting. Purpose and benefits. Contour planting involves aligning rows of trees or crops along the natural contours of a slope. It prevents water runoff, reduces soil erosion, and enhances water infiltration. Soil conservation. Trees and crops planted along contours slow water flow, minimizing erosion. Moisture retention. Increases water infiltration into the soil. Productivity improvement. Maintains fertile topsoil, improving crop yields. Design principles. Contour mapping. Identify natural slope lines using topographic surveys or simple leveling tools. Tree spacing. Rows of trees are spaced to intercept runoff without overly shading crops. Species selection. Fast-growing, erosion-resistant species with strong root systems. Examples: Leucaena leucocephala, Erythrina, acacia, Gliricidia. Case study: coffee farms in Ethiopia. Location: southwestern Ethiopian highlands. Practice: contour planting of shade trees and hedgerows along sloped coffee fields. Outcome: reduce soil erosion by 35 to 40%, improve soil fertility, and increase coffee yield and quality. Additional benefits: pruned biomass provided fodder and firewood for farmers. 7.5 Combining systems for maximum impact. Agroforestry practices often overlap. A hillside farm may combine contour planting, windbreaks, and riparian buffers. Integrated systems provide multiple ecosystem services, from erosion control to water filtration and carbon sequestration. Economic diversification. Timber, fruits, fodder, and bioenergy crops increase income while protecting natural resources. 7.6 Economic and environmental benefits. Economic. Windbreaks and contour trees provide timber, fuel wood, fodder, and fruits. Riparian buffers can produce marketable products like willow poles, nuts, or medicinal herbs. Reduce crop losses from wind, drought, and flooding, increase net farm income. Environmental. Soil protection. Reduced erosion and improved soil fertility. Water quality. Nutrient and sediment filtration protects aquatic ecosystems. Carbon sequestration. Trees store carbon in biomass and soils. Biodiversity. Habitat for birds, insects, and small mammals. 7.7 Challenges. Land allocation. Farmers may hesitate to dedicate productive land to non-crop trees. Initial costs, tree seedlings, planting and maintenance require investment. Maintenance, regular pruning and monitoring are needed to maintain system functionality. Knowledge requirement, farmers need training in species selection, spacing and contour mapping. Mitigation, incentive programs, technical training, and cooperative planting initiatives have improved adoption in many countries. 7.8 Innovations and research. Multi-purpose trees, species providing timber, fodder, and erosion control. GIS and drones, mapping slopes and runoff patterns for optimal planting. Climate-smart designs, drought-tolerant and flood-resilient species along streams and slopes. Community-based projects, collective planting and maintenance reduce labor costs and increase adoption. Example, in Kenya, integrating windbreaks and contour hedgerows reduce soil erosion by over 50% on smallholder farms, while producing fodder and fuelwood for household use. 7.9 Conclusion, protecting land, water, and livelihoods. Windbreaks, riparian buffers, and contour planting demonstrate that agroforestry can be a proactive defense for farms. These systems protect soil and water, enhance biodiversity, mitigate climate risks, provide economic returns. By integrating these protective agroforestry practices, farmers can maintain productive and resilient landscapes, balancing conservation with livelihood needs. These systems exemplify how nature and agriculture can coexist for mutual benefit. Chapter 8: Home Gardens and Urban Agroforestry. 8.1 Introduction: Agriculture at the Doorstep. Imagine a small courtyard in Kerala, India, overflowing with coconut palms, banana plants, turmeric beds, and leafy greens, all interspersed with medicinal herbs and small poultry. Or picture a rooftop in Havana, Cuba, where tomatoes, peppers, and fruit trees grow alongside composting systems. These are examples of home gardens and urban agroforestry, systems that bring agriculture into the spaces where people live, providing food, income, and ecological benefits. Unlike large-scale farms, home gardens and urban agroforestry focus on small-scale, intensive, and multi-layered cultivation, making efficient use of limited land. 8.2 Principles of home gardens. Home gardens are designed around several core principles. Diversity, a mixture of food, medicinal, fodder, and ornamental plants. Vertical stratification, multiple layers of crops, from tall trees to low-growing herbs. Integration, plants, small livestock, and sometimes aquaculture coexist. Sustainability, practices conserve water, recycle nutrients, and maintain soil fertility. Cultural relevance, reflects local traditions, food habits, and household needs. 8.3 Design and layout. Vertical layers. Upper layer, coconut, mango, banana, or papaya trees. Middle layer, fruit shrubs, guava, citrus, legumes, and vegetables. Lower layer, leafy greens, herbs, and root crops. Ground cover, mulching crops, small poultry areas, or aquaculture ponds. Spatial arrangement. Compact and intensive, maximize space in small yards or urban plots. Sunlight optimization, shade-tolerant crops planted under taller trees. Water management, drip irrigation, rainwater harvesting, and mulching for efficiency. 8.4 Species selection. Trees: coconut, banana, mango, papaya, guava. Nitrogen-fixing trees like Gliricidia sepium or Leucaena for soil enrichment. Shrubs and bushes: fruit-bearing, citrus, passionfruit, blackberry. Medicinal herbs: turmeric, ginger, holy basil. Understory crops: leafy greens, spinach, amaranth, kale. Root crops: carrots, radish, sweet potato. Livestock integration: chickens, ducks, or small goats provide eggs, meat, and manure for fertilization. 8.5 Management practices. Soil and fertility. Composting kitchen waste and livestock manure recycles nutrients. Mulching conserves moisture and suppresses weeds. Water management. Rainwater harvesting and drip irrigation optimize limited water resources. Water from poultry or aquaculture can be reused for plant irrigation. Pest and disease management. Plant diversity reduces pest outbreaks. Companion planting, e.g., marigolds among vegetables, deters insects. Minimal chemical inputs ensure food safety. Harvesting and maintenance. Staggered planting ensures continuous harvest. Pruning, trellising, and crop rotation improve yield and reduce disease. 8.6 Case Studies. Kerala, India. System: multi-layered home gardens with coconut, banana, turmeric, vegetables, and medicinal herbs. Outcome: provide 70 to 80% of household food needs, income from surplus vegetables and fruits, and fodder for small livestock. Environmental benefits: maintains soil fertility, conserves water, and supports biodiversity. Havana, Cuba. System: urban rooftop and backyard gardens with vegetables, herbs, and fruit trees. Outcome: supplies fresh produce to urban households, reduces food imports, and improves nutrition. Social impact: community engagement, urban greening, and employment opportunities. West Africa, Gambia, and Senegal. System: home gardens integrate mango, baobab, okra, leafy vegetables, and chickens. Outcome: enhance food security, year-round nutrition, and diversified income streams. Cultural relevance: gardens maintain local food traditions and medicinal plant use. 8.7 Economic benefits. Food security: continuous supply of vegetables, fruits, and eggs. Income diversification: surplus produce, medicinal plants, and poultry products generate revenue. Reduced input costs: on-site compost and animal manure reduce dependency on chemical fertilizers. Example: in Kerala, households with home gardens earned an additional $500 to $700 per year from selling surplus fruits, vegetables, and medicinal herbs. 8.8 Environmental benefits. Biodiversity: supports insects, birds, and soil microorganisms. Soil conservation: composting and mulching maintain soil health. Microclimate regulation: trees provide shade, reduce heat, and maintain humidity in urban areas. Water efficiency: drip irrigation and rainwater harvesting reduce water waste. 8.9 Social and cultural benefits. Nutrition improvement: year-round access to fruits and vegetables enhances household diet quality. Cultural preservation: gardens maintain traditional medicinal and culinary plants. Community engagement: shared urban gardens strengthen social ties. Education: gardens serve as teaching spaces for sustainable agriculture practices. 8.10 Challenges. Space constraints: urban areas have limited space for intensive gardening. Labor requirements: maintenance, pruning, and irrigation demand time and effort. Water availability: limited water sources require efficient irrigation systems. Pest management: high diversity requires knowledge of crop pest interactions. Mitigation: vertical gardens, rooftop planters, community garden initiatives, and technical support programs have successfully addressed these challenges. 8.11 Innovations and research. Vertical gardening: stack planters or trellis systems maximize space. Aquaponics integration: combining fish farming with hydroponic vegetable cultivation. Smart irrigation systems: drip irrigation controlled by moisture sensors. Community agroforestry: urban farms managed collectively to improve food access and green spaces. Example: in Havana, urban agroforestry has created over 30,000 small-scale urban farms, supplying 60 to 70% of the city's fresh vegetables while enhancing biodiversity and microclimate. 8.12 Conclusion. Agriculture where people live. Home gardens and urban agroforestry demonstrate that productive and sustainable farming can happen in small spaces, close to where people live. These systems improve food security and nutrition, provide income and employment, conserve biodiversity and soil health, strengthen cultural identity and community cohesion. By integrating trees, vegetables, fruits, and livestock into household spaces, home gardens and urban agroforestry bring the benefits of agroforestry to every doorstep, showing that sustainable agriculture is possible even in densely populated areas. Chapter 9: Agroforestry and Climate Change. 9.1 Introduction: A Global Challenge. Climate change is altering rainfall patterns, increasing temperatures, and intensifying extreme weather events across the globe. Agriculture, being highly dependent on soil, water, and climatic conditions, is particularly vulnerable. In this context, agroforestry emerges as a powerful strategy to mitigate climate change impacts, adapt farming systems, and improve resilience for both ecosystems and communities. Imagine a semi-arid region in Kenya, where traditional monoculture maize fails under recurring droughts. By integrating trees into farms, soil moisture is retained, temperatures are moderated, and farmers maintain harvests despite erratic rainfall. This is the potential of agroforestry in climate-smart agriculture. 9.2 Agroforestry as a climate change mitigation strategy. Mitigation refers to reducing or preventing greenhouse gas (GHG) emissions and increasing carbon sequestration. Agroforestry contributes in multiple ways. Carbon sequestration. Above-ground biomass. Trees store carbon in trunks, branches, and leaves. Below-ground biomass. Roots and soil organic matter capture and retain carbon. Agroforestry systems. Multi-strata systems, silvopastoral systems, and alley cropping can sequester 2 to 9 tons of carbon per hectare per year, depending on tree density and species. Case study. In West Africa, cocoa farms with shade trees sequester significantly more carbon than sun-grown monocultures, while also improving crop resilience to heat and drought. Reduced emissions. Trees in agroforestry reduce the need for chemical fertilizers by fixing nitrogen, lowering nitrous oxide emissions. Shade trees in pastures and coffee cacao plantations reduce soil temperature, decreasing decomposition rates and methane emissions from soils. Example: silvopastoral systems in Brazil reduce methane emissions per unit of livestock production by enhancing feed quality and microclimate regulation. Energy substitution. Agroforestry provides biomass for fuelwood, replacing fossil fuels. Timber and non-timber products can substitute for energy-intensive materials, indirectly lowering carbon footprints. 9.3 Agroforestry as an adaptation strategy. Adaptation involves adjusting farming systems to withstand climate stresses. Agroforestry enhances resilience through microclimate regulation. Tree canopies reduce soil and air temperature, mitigating heat stress on crops and livestock. Shade reduces evapotranspiration, maintaining soil moisture during dry spells. Case study. In India, millet and sorghum intercropped with Gliricidia alleys survived longer during drought periods thanks to shade and improved soil moisture retention. Soil and water conservation. Trees reduce runoff and erosion, maintain soil fertility, and enhance infiltration. Agroforestry ensures water availability during variable rainfall seasons. Example: contour tree planting in Ethiopia's highlands reduced soil loss by 35 to 40%, conserving water for crops even during erratic rains. Biodiversity support. Diverse tree crop systems provide habitat for pollinators, natural pest predators, and soil organisms. Biodiversity improves ecosystem stability, helping farms withstand climate shocks. Food security and livelihood resilience. Multi-layered agroforestry systems provide year-round harvests, even under drought or flood conditions. Trees produce timber, fruits, fodder, and fuelwood, diversifying income and reducing vulnerability. Case study. In Bangladesh, homestead agroforestry combining fruit trees, vegetables, and small livestock increased household resilience to cyclones and floods. 9.4 Global case studies. East Africa, Faidherbia-based agroforestry. Location: Kenya and Tanzania. System: alley cropping with maize and beans under Faidherbia albida. Climate benefit: improved yields under erratic rainfall, soil fertility enhanced, carbon sequestered in tree biomass. Latin America, silvopastoral systems in Colombia. Trees, Calliandra and Lucina. Livestock, dairy cattle. Impact, increased milk production under heat stress. Trees sequestered carbon while providing fodder. Asia, home gardens in Kerala, India. System, multi-layered home gardens with coconut, banana, spices, vegetables. Outcome, maintained household food security during extreme weather. Trees regulated microclimate. Diverse crops spread risk. 9.5 Integrating agroforestry with climate policy. Agroforestry is increasingly recognized in global climate frameworks. UNFCCC, United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. Agroforestry is part of climate-smart agriculture strategies. REDD+, reducing emissions from deforestation and forest degradation. Agroforestry contributes to carbon storage and forest conservation. National policies. Countries like India, Kenya, and Brazil provide incentives for tree crop integration to enhance climate resilience and carbon sequestration. 9.6 Challenges in climate-oriented agroforestry. Knowledge gaps. Farmers need training on species selection, carbon potential, and climate-smart management. Land tenure issues. Tree planting may require secure land rights. Monitoring and verification. Quantifying carbon sequestration for carbon credit schemes can be complex. Initial costs. Establishing trees and systems requires investment and long-term commitment. Mitigation. Extension services, participatory planning, and financial incentives can enhance adoption and success. 9.7 Innovations and research. Carbon accounting tools. Remote sensing and GIS help quantify carbon sequestration. Climate-resilient species, breeding drought-tolerant, heat-resistant trees and crops. Agroforestry carbon markets. Farmers can earn income from carbon credits for planting trees. Integration with renewable energy. Biomass from agroforestry as sustainable energy source. Example. In Uganda, farmers participating in carbon credit programs through agroforestry earned additional income while improving farm resilience to drought. 9.8 Conclusion. Agroforestry as a climate solution. Agroforestry offers dual benefits for climate change. Mitigation. Captures carbon, reduces emissions, and substitutes for fossil fuel-intensive resources. Adaptation. Enhances resilience to heat, drought, floods, and soil degradation. Across continents, from semi-arid Kenya to tropical India and Latin America, agroforestry demonstrates how sustainable farming systems can tackle climate challenges while supporting livelihoods. It is not just a farming practice, it is a strategic approach to building climate-resilient landscapes, proving that trees, crops, and livestock can collectively safeguard both food security and the planet. Chapter 10. Economic and Policy Aspects of Agroforestry. 10.1 Introduction. From Ecology to Economy. Agroforestry is widely celebrated for its ecological and social benefits, but its economic viability and supportive policy frameworks are crucial for large-scale adoption. Farmers are more likely to adopt agroforestry systems if they generate income, reduce risks, and receive policy support. This chapter explores how agroforestry contributes to rural livelihoods, market opportunities, and national economies, and how policies and incentives shape adoption. 10.2 Economic Benefits of Agroforestry. Agroforestry offers direct and indirect economic benefits. Direct benefits. Crop diversification. Multiple products reduce dependence on a single cash crop, spreading risk. Example. A cocoa shade system produces cacao, timber, fruits, and nuts. Livestock integration. Silvopastoral systems increase animal weight gain and milk yield. Non-timber forest products, NTFPs, fruits, nuts, medicinal plants, and honey generate additional income. Timber and fuelwood, trees provide long-term revenue streams. Case study. In Kerala, India, farmers with multi-layered home gardens earned $500 to $700 annually from surplus vegetables, fruits, and medicinal plants, complementing household income. Indirect benefits. Soil fertility. Reduced need for fertilizers saves costs. Microclimate regulation. Reduce crop losses from heat, wind, or drought. Water conservation, less irrigation and reduced crop failure costs. Risk mitigation, diversification lowers vulnerability to market or climate shocks. Example, alley cropping in Kenya increased maize yields by 25 to 30%, while providing firewood and fodder, reducing input costs and securing additional income. 10.3 Market opportunities. Agroforestry systems produce a wide range of marketable products. Food products, fruits, nuts, vegetables, cereals, pulses, honey. Timber and wood products, construction timber, firewood, charcoal. Medicinal plants and spices, turmeric, cardamom, ginseng, cocoa. Environmental services, carbon credits, water regulation, biodiversity conservation. Emerging markets. Carbon credits, farmers can earn by sequestering carbon through tree planting. Biodiversity certified products, shade-grown coffee and cacao fetch premium prices. Urban agroforestry, rooftop gardens and home gardens supply urban markets and reduce food imports. 10.4 Cost-benefit analysis. Successful adoption depends on balancing initial costs, management effort, and long-term benefits. Cost: tree seedlings and planting. Labor for pruning, maintenance, and harvesting. Irrigation and soil amendments. Benefits: increased crop yields. Timber, fodder, fruits, and NTFPs. Reduced input costs. Resilience to climate variability. Case study: in Brazil, silvopastoral systems increase cattle weight gain and timber yield, providing a 15 to 25% higher net return than conventional pastures within 5 to 7 years. 10.5 Policy frameworks supporting agroforestry. Government policies and institutional support are critical for scaling agroforestry. National policies. India. National Agroforestry Policy 2014 provides incentives for tree crop integration, technical training, and market support. Kenya. Agroforestry programs promote soil conservation, carbon credits, and community nurseries. Brazil. Policies support silvopastoral systems, forest restoration, and payment for environmental services. Incentives and subsidies. Tree planting subsidies or seedling distribution. Tax incentives for timber and NTFP production. Payments for ecosystem services (PES), including carbon sequestration or watershed protection. Institutional support. Farmer field schools, cooperatives, and extension services provide training, technical guidance, and market access. Research institutions promote climate-resilient species and innovative systems. 10.6 Global adoption trends. Asia. Widespread home gardens and alley cropping, especially in India, Indonesia, and the Philippines. Africa. Silvopastoral systems and alley cropping in semi-arid and humid regions. Latin America. Shade-grown coffee and cacao, silvopastoral cattle systems, forest farming in Amazonian regions. Urban areas. Rooftop gardens, community gardens, and peri-urban agroforestry in cities like Havana, Cuba, and Nairobi, Kenya. Trend. Countries are increasingly recognizing agroforestry in climate action plans, REDD+ programs, and national land use policies. 10.7 Challenges and barriers. Land tenure. Unclear property rights discourage long-term tree planting. Market access. Farmers need access to markets for timber, fruits, and carbon credits. Knowledge gaps. Technical expertise is required for species selection, pruning, and management. Initial investment. Upfront costs of trees, irrigation, and labor can be high. Mitigation strategies. Community-based planting programs. Extension services and farmer field schools. Microfinance and input subsidies. Cooperative marketing initiatives. 10.8 Innovations and emerging opportunities. Agroforestry carbon markets. Payment for carbon sequestration incentivizes tree planting. Digital tools. Mobile apps and GIS mapping help farmers manage multi-layered systems. High-value crops. Shade-grown coffee, cacao, spices, medicinal plants increase profitability. Urban and peri-urban agroforestry. expanding green spaces while producing food in cities. Case study: in Uganda, carbon credit programs for agroforestry generated $50 to $100 per hectare per year for smallholders, while improving soil and water conservation. 10.9 Conclusion: linking ecology and economy. Economic viability and policy support are central to agroforestry adoption. By integrating diverse products, ecosystem services, and market opportunities, agroforestry becomes not only a tool for sustainability, but also a driver of rural development and income security. Policies, incentives, and institutional support amplify the impact of agroforestry, allowing it to increase farm income and livelihoods, promote climate resilience and ecosystem services, enhance food security and nutrition, facilitate global sustainability goals. Agroforestry is thus a win-win approach, aligning ecological sustainability with economic development and demonstrating that productive landscapes can also be resilient, profitable, and socially beneficial. Chapter 11: Research, Education, and Capacity Building in Agroforestry. 11.1 Introduction: Knowledge as the Foundation. Agroforestry is a science-driven and context-specific practice. While its ecological and economic benefits are well documented, effective adoption depends on research, education, and capacity building. Farmers, extension workers, policymakers, and researchers must have access to knowledge, training, and practical tools to implement sustainable agroforestry systems successfully. Imagine smallholder farmers in Kenya attending a field school on alley cropping. By observing pruning techniques, nitrogen-fixing trees, and crop rotations firsthand, they gain the confidence and skills to transform their fields into resilient, productive landscapes. This is where research and education converge. 11.2 Role of research in agroforestry. Research provides the scientific basis for system design, species selection, and management practices. Key areas include species trials and adaptation, identifying climate-resilient and multi-purpose tree species suitable for local conditions, trials with crops and trees to optimize spacing, pruning, and yield interactions. Case study: in India, research on Gliricidia alley cropping identified optimal pruning intervals, maximizing maize yield while producing fodder for livestock. Soil, water, and nutrient management. Studying nitrogen fixation, organic matter cycling, and soil fertility enhancement. Monitoring water retention and erosion control in different agroforestry systems. Example: Ethiopian research on contour planting revealed 35 to 40% reduced soil loss on sloped farms, informing national soil conservation programs. Climate adaptation and carbon sequestration. Quantifying carbon storage potential of various agroforestry systems. Evaluating system resilience under drought, flood, and temperature extremes. Case study: shade-grown cacao farms in Costa Rica sequestered up to 30% more carbon than monoculture plantations, informing carbon credit programs. Socioeconomic and policy research. Assessing market opportunities, cost-benefit ratios, and livelihood impacts. Understanding policy, land tenure, and adoption barriers to inform supportive interventions. Example: Brazilian studies on silvopastoral systems demonstrated 15 to 25% higher net returns than conventional pastures, influencing national agroforestry policies. 11.3 Education and farmer training. Education bridges the gap between research and practice. Approaches include farmer field schools (FFS), hands-on learning in real farm settings. Topics: pruning, tree crop integration, soil management, pest control. Example: Kenyan FFS programs on alley cropping increase maize yields by 20 to 25% while teaching sustainable pruning techniques. Demonstration plots. Visible examples of successful agroforestry systems inspire adoption. Allow farmers to see and compare outcomes with conventional methods. Vocational and academic programs. Universities offer degrees and short courses in agroforestry, sustainable agriculture, and forestry. Integration of hands-on field training and research internships improves practical skills. Example: Wageningen University in the Netherlands provides agroforestry research programs with field-based internships in Europe, Africa, and Asia. 11.4 Capacity building for extension services. Extension workers play a critical role in scaling agroforestry knowledge. Training in system design, species selection, pruning, and soil conservation. Use of digital tools, GIS, and mobile apps to support farmer decision-making. Participatory approaches that involve farmers in decision-making, experimentation, and knowledge sharing. Case study: in the Philippines, extension workers facilitated community-level agroforestry cooperatives, increasing adoption rates and income from timber, fruit, and fodder. 11.5 Knowledge networks and collaboration. Global and regional collaboration strengthens agroforestry research and adoption. Agroforestry research networks, ICRAF, World Agroforestry, FAO, CGIAR centers. Community networks, farmer cooperatives, and local NGOs facilitate knowledge exchange. Policy platforms, national agroforestry committees guide implementation of supportive policies. Example: ICRAF's knowledge-sharing platform connects researchers and farmers in Africa and Asia, promoting climate-smart agroforestry innovations. 11.6 Innovations in agroforestry education. Digital platforms, mobile apps, e-learning modules, and social media for farmer training. Decision support tools, GIS mapping, crop tree interaction models, carbon accounting software. Participatory research, engaging farmers in trials, observation, and feedback loops to refine systems. Urban agroforestry education. School and community gardens teach children about sustainable food systems. 11.7 Policy support for capacity building. Effective policies include funding for agroforestry research and extension programs, incentives for universities and NGOs to provide training, support for public-private partnerships in agroforestry knowledge dissemination, integration into national climate, agriculture, and rural development strategies. Example: India's National Agroforestry Policy 2014 promotes capacity building through training centers, demonstration sites, and financial support for smallholders. 11.8 Challenges in research and education. Limited funding. Research and extension programs often lack sustainable financing. Knowledge gaps. Local adaptation knowledge is insufficient in many regions. Technology access. Farmers in remote areas may lack access to digital tools. Scaling innovations. Successful pilot projects do not always scale due to cultural or socioeconomic barriers. Mitigation. Partnerships between governments, NGOs, research institutions, and private sectors improve funding, technology access, and adoption. 11.9 Conclusion. Knowledge as a catalyst. Research, education, and capacity building are the backbone of successful agroforestry adoption. By providing evidence-based research, hands-on training for farmers, skilled extension services, knowledge networks, and policy support, agroforestry systems can scale globally, enhance resilience, and generate economic, social, and ecological benefits. In essence, knowledge empowers farmers, informs policymakers, and drives innovation, making agroforestry not just a practice, but a transformative approach to sustainable land management. Chapter 12: Monitoring, Evaluation, and Scaling Agroforestry Systems. 12.1 Introduction: From Practice to Impact. Agroforestry systems are complex, integrating trees, crops, livestock, and ecosystem services. To ensure these systems are effective, sustainable, and scalable, it is essential to implement robust monitoring and evaluation (M&E) frameworks. M&E helps identify successes, challenges, and best practices, guiding farmers, policymakers, and researchers in scaling agroforestry to regional, national, and global levels. Imagine a cacao agroforestry system in Costa Rica. Monitoring tree growth, soil fertility, and yield over 5 years allows farmers to optimize pruning schedules, shade management, and market strategies, increasing productivity and profitability while maintaining ecosystem health. 12.2 Principles of Monitoring and Evaluation. Monitoring and evaluation in agroforestry are guided by several core principles. Systematic measurement. Collect consistent, reliable data on productivity, biodiversity, and ecosystem services. Participatory approach. Involve farmers and local communities in defining goals, collecting data, and interpreting results. Multi-scale assessment. Measure impacts at plot, farm, watershed, and landscape levels. Feedback-oriented. Use evaluation results to adjust practices, policies, and management strategies. 12.3 Key indicators for agroforestry systems. Monitoring involves tracking multiple dimensions, including biophysical, economic, and social indicators. Biophysical indicators. Tree growth and survival. Height, diameter, canopy cover, and survival rate. Crop yield. Annual and seasonal yields of crops intercropped with trees. Soil health. Organic matter content, nutrient levels, pH, and microbial activity. Water management. Soil moisture retention, runoff, and water infiltration. Biodiversity. Species richness, pollinators, and beneficial insects. Economic indicators. Income diversification. Revenue from timber, crops, fodder, and NTFPs. Cost-benefit ratios. Inputs versus outputs per hectare. Market access and price trends. Availability of markets for agroforestry products. Social indicators. Food security. Availability of diverse year-round food. Labor requirements. Time spent managing multi-layered systems. Community engagement. Participation in collective management or cooperatives. Knowledge transfer. Training and skill building among farmers. 12.4 Monitoring tools and techniques. Remote sensing and GIS. Satellite imagery and drones track tree cover, canopy density, and land use changes. GIS mapping identifies soil erosion hotspots, water flow patterns, and optimal planting zones. Field surveys and sampling. Permanent plots for tree growth, soil, and crop yield monitoring. Participatory surveys with farmers for socioeconomic and labor data. Digital and mobile tools. Mobile apps collect real-time data on growth, harvest, and weather. Cloud databases allow aggregation and comparison across regions. 12.5 Evaluation methods. Before-after comparison. Assess changes in productivity and ecosystem health after agroforestry adoption. Control plots. Compare agroforestry systems with monocultures to quantify benefits. Cost-benefit analysis. Evaluate economic viability over time. Multi-criteria analysis. Integrate ecological, social, and economic indicators for holistic evaluation. Case study. In Ethiopia, contour agroforestry plots were evaluated against conventional maize plots. Results showed 35% reduced soil erosion, higher water retention, and increased maize yield, validating the system's effectiveness. 12.6 Scaling agroforestry systems. Scaling agroforestry involves expanding adoption while maintaining effectiveness and sustainability. Farmer-to-farmer knowledge transfer. Demonstration plots and field schools facilitate peer learning. Farmers adopt systems based on observed successes and practical demonstrations. Institutional support. Governments provide policies, subsidies, and technical support. NGOs and cooperatives assist with seedling supply, training, and market access. Market-driven scaling. High-value products like shade-grown coffee, cacao, spices, and timber incentivize adoption. Carbon credit and payment for ecosystem services schemes provide additional revenue streams. Research-driven scaling. Adaptive research helps refine practices for different regions and climates. Data from monitoring and evaluation informs policy decisions and extension strategies. 12.7 Case Studies in Scaling. Kenya, Faidherbia albida alley cropping. Approach, farmer field schools, seedling distribution, and participatory trials. Impact, over 50,000 smallholder farmers adopted alley cropping, increasing maize yields and improving soil fertility. Costa Rica, shade-grown cacao expansion. Approach, certification programs and technical support for multi-strata cacao farms. Impact, expansion from 5,000 hectares to 20,000 hectares over a decade, enhancing carbon sequestration and farmer income. India, contour and windbreak agroforestry. Approach, government subsidies, training programs, and community nurseries. Impact, reduce soil erosion on 10,000 plus hectares, increase fodder and timber production, and improved rural livelihoods. 12.8 Challenges in monitoring and scaling. Data gaps, lack of standardized metrics and long-term datasets. Resource limitations, high costs for monitoring equipment and personnel. Farmer participation, scaling requires motivation, trust, and incentives. Context specificity, practices effective in one region may not work in another. Mitigation, participatory approaches, mobile technology, and adaptive management help overcome these barriers. 12.9 Innovations and future directions. Remote sensing and AI, automated analysis of canopy cover, carbon stocks, and crop health. Blockchain for product traceability, linking agroforestry products to markets, ensuring premium prices. Integrated landscape planning, scaling agroforestry across watersheds, regions, and national landscapes. Climate-smart scaling, prioritizing drought and flood-resilient species for expanding adoption under climate change. 12.10 Conclusion, measuring success to multiply impact. Monitoring, evaluation, and scaling are critical to transforming agroforestry from localized practice to global solution. By integrating systematic monitoring, participatory evaluation, adaptive management, strategic scaling mechanisms, agroforestry can maximize ecological, economic, and social benefits while ensuring resilience, sustainability, and widespread adoption. In essence, what gets measured gets managed, and by rigorously tracking performance, the full potential of agroforestry can be realized, from a single farm to a global movement. Chapter 13. Future Perspectives and Innovations in Agroforestry. 13.1 Introduction. A forward-looking approach. Agroforestry has evolved from traditional knowledge to a scientifically validated, multifunctional land use system. Yet, the 21st century presents unprecedented challenges and opportunities: climate change, population growth, urbanization, and resource constraints. The future of agroforestry depends on innovation, technology integration, policy support, and global collaboration. Imagine a landscape where drones monitor tree health, AI predicts optimal planting patterns, and urban rooftops produce both food and carbon credits. This is not science fiction. It is the emerging reality of modern agroforestry. 13.2 Emerging Technologies in Agroforestry. Remote sensing and precision monitoring. Satellite and drone imagery allow real-time monitoring of tree growth, crop yield, and canopy cover. Litter and multispectral imaging track carbon sequestration, soil moisture, and pest outbreaks. Impact enables precise interventions, reducing resource wastage and increasing productivity. Case study: in Brazil, drones monitor silvopastoral systems, guiding pruning, fertilizer application, and pest control, increasing productivity by 15 to 20%. Artificial intelligence and decision support systems. AI algorithms optimize species selection, planting density, and intercropping combinations. Decision support tools help farmers simulate yields, carbon storage, and climate impacts. Impact reduces trial and error, accelerates adoption, and improves climate resilience. Example: AI models in Kenya identify the most productive tree crop combinations for semi-arid regions, maximizing both yield and carbon sequestration. Genetic improvement and biotechnology. Development of drought and heat-tolerant tree and crop varieties. Improved nitrogen-fixing trees enhance soil fertility and growth rates. Potential for disease-resistant crops in multi-strata systems. Impact: strengthens resilience to climate stress and increases long-term productivity. Urban and vertical agroforestry innovations. Rooftop gardens, vertical planters, and container systems bring agroforestry to urban centers. Integration with aquaponics and hydroponics allows year-round production. Impact: reduces urban heat, enhances food security, and supports local livelihoods. Case study: in Havana, Cuba, rooftop and community gardens produce a substantial portion of the city's fresh vegetables, while improving biodiversity and microclimate. 13.3 Climate-smart agroforestry for the future. Agroforestry will play a central role in global climate strategies. Carbon sequestration: trees and farms capture carbon, contributing to national climate targets. Adaptation: agroforestry buffers crops against drought, floods, and temperature extremes. Resilience: diverse systems reduce the vulnerability of food systems to climate shocks. Example: shade-grown coffee systems in Costa Rica sequester carbon while protecting farmers against unpredictable rainfall, creating climate-resilient income sources. 13.4 Integration with global sustainability goals. Agroforestry contributes to multiple UN Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs. 2 Sudanese pounds, zero hunger, improves food security and nutrition. 13 Sudanese pounds, climate action, mitigates and adapts to climate change. 15 Sudanese pounds, life on land, preserves biodiversity and ecosystems. 8 Sudanese pounds, decent work and economic growth, supports rural livelihoods and income diversification. Future perspective: scaling agroforestry aligns with global climate, biodiversity, and development agendas, transforming agriculture into a sustainable, multifunctional landscape. 13.5 Innovative business models. Payment for ecosystem services, PES. Farmers earn income by storing carbon, conserving biodiversity, or protecting watersheds. Emerging global carbon markets allow smallholders to monetize carbon sequestration. Value chain development. Agroforestry products like shade-grown coffee, cacao, nuts, and medicinal plants fetch premium prices. Cooperative marketing, fair trade, and direct-to-consumer models enhance profitability. Agri-tech startups. Technology-driven platforms link farmers to markets, finance, and technical support. Mobile applications provide planting guidance, weather alerts, and pest management advice. 13.6 Research and knowledge frontiers. Climate modeling, predicting agroforestry performance under future climate scenarios. Biodiversity metrics, quantifying ecological benefits and wildlife interactions. Social sciences, understanding farmer behavior, adoption barriers, and gender impacts. Global networks, collaborative research accelerates innovation and knowledge transfer. Example: ICRAF's global agroforestry platform connects researchers, policymakers, and farmers, enabling real-time knowledge exchange across continents. 13.7 Policy and institutional innovations. Integration of agroforestry into national climate, land use, and rural development policies. Incentives for tree crop integration, sustainable intensification, and ecosystem services payments. Support for farmer cooperatives, extension services, and research networks to scale adoption. Future perspective: policy frameworks will increasingly link agroforestry with climate finance and sustainable development objectives, creating synergistic benefits for people and the planet. 13.8 Challenges and opportunities. Challenges: high initial investment and labor requirements. Complexity of multi-layered systems, and knowledge-intensive management. land tenure insecurity and access to markets, monitoring and verification for carbon or ecosystem service payments, opportunities, integration with digital agriculture and AI, expansion of carbon credit and PES programs, urban and peri-urban agroforestry to address food security and heat islands, collaborative research and innovation networks to accelerate adoption. 13.9 Visionary agroforestry landscapes. Multifunctional farms, combining timber, fruits, fodder, crops, and ecosystem services in layered systems. Climate-resilient landscapes, farms withstand droughts, floods, and heat waves. Urban green networks, rooftop gardens, green corridors, and community farms in cities. Global knowledge sharing. Farmers, researchers, and policymakers exchange best practices via digital platforms. Example: future agroforestry landscapes may link rural production zones with urban green infrastructure, creating interconnected, climate-smart, and profitable systems. 13.10 Conclusion: the next frontier. The future of agroforestry is transformative, knowledge-driven, and innovation-led. By combining emerging technologies, AI, drones, remote sensing, climate-smart practices, policy support and market incentives, education, research, and global collaboration, agroforestry can feed the world, conserve biodiversity, mitigate climate change, and sustain rural livelihoods. In the decades ahead, agroforestry will not only revitalize landscapes and communities, but also become a cornerstone of resilient, sustainable, and equitable food systems worldwide.